first word. You ready? Lock. Just as it sounds. Lock. Okay? The next one. Dick. Dick.
I was very, very lucky. I went into basic education where there was a freedom of the individual, and actually to be put into a situation where you've got to learn by rote, you've got to learn by phonics, to me seems to be a very small noose that put around quite a lot of people's neck. This is the way that is taught. It works for the people, and I applaud it working. I know it won't have worked in my case.
Literacy for me is a kind of adventure of the spirit. The first problem we have in the experience of literacy in jail is precisely the lack of hope which maybe the people inside of jail have. Then how to deal with this? Because I repeat, it's not a problem of reducing the objectives of reading and writing, like, for example, to convince the people in prison that they need to write and to read in order for writing letters or reading letters. It is good, it is important, but it is not enough. That is, for me, this point demands a serious preoccupation from the educators. That is, how to deal with the contradiction between speaking about hope and about history, at the same time in which the people to whom we speak may be prevented by, because of the circumstances in which they are, from being hopeful.
I think I must have been stood outside every day for about a week. And I stood outside just to see who went in, what sort of people went in. I wanted to see if they come out any different. And I plucked up courage. I went in and I met the lady who was in charge. And I said that I had trouble in reading and writing. Is there anything you can do to help?
20 miles from Corinne's Yorkshire home is the village of Pecketwell. Its former co-op shop is about to become the first residential college in Britain for people learning to read and write. Its students and teachers working together as equals.
To come into the lift and somebody's coming out, how much room?
Corinne Shires is now one of Pecketwell's directors. So too are Peter Good and John Glynn.
When they asked me, I didn't really want to be a director. But I was open for challenges. And I took it on. And now I even read the minutes of the management committee meetings. Second wall hanging day at Bradford Community Hearts held. Very exciting, seeing it coming together.
Students and tutors are working together on a wall hanging for the new college.
2 more days of rain.
I think it'd be quite nice if instead of having corners at the bottom, we made the whole thing round. But what do you think about that?
Well, that's the theme.
Yeah, I think that would be nice if we could that. Okay, this one. The one that's...
We believe this is a right for everybody to be fetched in and said, this could be the future for people like myself. We started working together, and then came the office, and we work as a team. We empower each other.
Corinne is sewing in a poem she wrote herself.
The mirror reflects me. I'm 5 and I'm small. Brown eyes stare back, no confidence at all. But behind the screen is a woman who has suffered and understands. So she wants to help. I'd give the world if I could, but simply don't know what to do. All I know is that helping helps me. I can't see through me, the mirror is misty, but I can see through others. They are clear to me, and I think I can help. It sometimes needs another hand to wipe the mirror clean.
Pecketwell College has also given Peter, still struggling to read, the opportunity to write and publish his poems.
Just beginning, a small raindrop wears the strongest stone away and breaches the gap of understanding where many pebbles was big boulders and have been weighed down. Many elements are coming together and becoming a big voice that shall be listened to.
You see, it's a collective identity as well. You've got your own area, but when you get all mining communities, it is a bigger strength. And I think that's what kept us going, buffing off each other. And it was through strike I started going about gallivanting all over. And then I realised people kept putting papers in front of me. I ain't got my glasses. Have you what time's meeting? I don't know. And there's a sign in front of me. Catching buses in other towns, not my village. Everything like that. Until somebody realised and took me aside and said, "Can you read and write? You know, have you got problems in that area?" And I said, "Yeah," and they wanted to take me aside and start teaching me. They found out I was a bigger problem than they thought, so they guided me to literacy classes.
Once married to a miner, Edie Woolley now lives on her own in Leeds. But the memory of the strike is still strong. We asked her to come with us to look at a literacy scheme in Castleford, which grew from a women's strike support group.
There's a few women what's finished and they've gone to work in a centre. And they've got this centre going really well at Castleford. Any individual can go in there with a problem, and even if it's not being able to read and write or any other problem, and it's there for that purpose, people. It's everything. Every part of life. I mean, there's even the 60s night. If you can't read and write and you go to a 60s night or you go to somewhere else, you can feel at home and that gives you confidence to go back and say, "I can't read and write." It's just a welcome, a big welcome place, you know.
F-I-S-T, fire sits at the fire pats stops the tour.
What does it begin with?
R-E-S-T, rest.
That's number 5.
What's that one?
Just slightly forward.
Can I join you?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thanks.
Would you like to sit next to Nell? Have you got a pen?
I brought this down, and everyone's been having a look at it. This is like a frozen moment in in time, in a situation. And I don't want you to write a factual report about it at all, but to use the imagination. How long do you think they've been working down here?
Too long.
All the working lives,
Yeah.
as you say.
Why?
The retirement.
That's fine. So you think they are experienced workers rather than...
Well,
would think
one of
so.
the one,
They wouldn't be
the
there
one I
if they
said
weren't
who could be the
experienced.
son, he may not have only done a few years, you may
Yeah.
have done leaving school to do anything.
Which, out of curiosity, which do you think is which?
I'd say the one with the pick is the son.
Yeah.
The father's showing him the light and telling him what to do.
But indulge him.
Right, let's see what first sentence everybody comes up with. Write your first sentence.
Oh, God.
There's not enough rooms for people what go. A lot of people go in. I'm not sure, I think I had about 1,000 a week go through that centre. And that's a lot of people. And I know a lot of authority-funded places. I love them numbers. But they just can't offer. They can't offer what they offer.
Edie also visited an open learning unit in Castleford, one of a recently established national network.
I read it well, yeah.
Welcome. This is the Castleford Open Learning Unit. It's a step up from the normal basic education in the area, in that we've received an education support grant to fund the unit with all these computers, which we can use as word processors well. And it's meant to attract more students who want to brush up the skills in basic English, basic maths, and just have an introduction to using a computer and a word processor. Because now more and more jobs are asking people to use equipment like this.
So,
to come in
is
again.
it mainly getting used to computers, or is it to really start? Have you got another place to start them off when, if they can't read and write?
No, they work in this room as well. Christine's one of our beginner students, and she wanted to improve her reading. And usually the beginners start off at the table working with worksheets, but we try and encourage them to move on to the computer and do some basic work on the computer. Christine's quite new to the unit and she's still a bit nervous of the computer. So we're quite happy with her sat at the table, or we have another small room out there where she can go and sit and work quietly. Right, so shall I show you something?
Yes,
over
please,
here?
Computers were really frightening.
This is just a simple program to check people's basic reading and comprehension, and it's also meant to increase the vocabulary. If I put the simple one on first, which is on opposites, you're given a word and you have to type in the opposite to the word. Okay. A lot of students find it much nicer to sit at a computer and it corrects it if they get it wrong. Let's say if we type in music, all it says is wrong and gives them a chance to have another try. And nobody else in the room knows they've got it wrong. It's not as though it beeps at them. So we have another try. Do you want to have a go?
Oh, not really.
Oh, it's easy.
No. You know, it's a bit frightening for me to go in as now. You never got me in 5 years in. No. I'd been really frightened. If you're going to educate people for work, you're going to educate them for a false idea, because there's no such thing as work these days. So they're educating them just to keep them quiet.
Sky, it's very interesting to see, for example, how the participation in a strike was able to provoke the discovering of the need for reading and writing. It means, it has to do with the political nature of education and then of literacy. Literacy is not just a technical event. is something which has to do with desires, with sufferings, with hope.
In a way, I felt really confident because I was doing something. And that's, in a way, I was actually helping some other people when I got into a group. Because when you're with adults, you're treated as adults, not kids.
John Paul is a cook in a hamburger bar in Edinburgh. We wanted to find out from John Paul how he had moved from a student in a literacy class into an active participant in a Scottish history course. The course is held at the Adult Learning Project, a project inspired by Paulo Freire. And tonight John Paul is to talk about his own work on the Picts.
Okay, folks. Quiet, please. When I started the history route, I met new people, and when it came to a workshop, it kind of like really shocked me. What can I do? So it was one night I just told them straight out, I've got problems with reading. I'm writing it out. And then everybody just looked at me and shocked, because it brought me out. And then suddenly, they're still there today, friends. I think everybody, they all know me. There's an eagle, a fish. What kind of fish is it? It's a salmon. I went to the museums and I looked through what the stones in the museum and just worked from there. And I looked at the symbols and the jewellery and carried on from there. They couldn't read and write, so they had to use figures. Figures of animals, figures of symbols, so they could understand. They actually could be two hunters, actually looking for knowledge and peace, and then looking for the God. Nobody knows exactly what it means anyway.
This course or programme is not just about looking at the past, but it's looking at the past and trying to discover what that means for us today. So it's supposed to help us begin to understand more about what the problems and issues are around the idea of Scottish identity.
By going so far back, I think we would like to show and destroy some of the myths about Scottish history, that it was a dark age, that didn't have a civilization. I think what John has shown us, that it was a very cultured time, and I think it's important for us as Scots to understand that we do have a long history, and it wasn't a dark age.